And of course, crime and violence is not right, but they don't have the ability to even do that, to get it out of them, right? What do? What happens is when they get married, that aggression now comes out on their spouse, the wife, the woman, their partner, and their children. The cycle is repeated. All right? That is why you have so much domestic violence and child abuse. And let me tell you, no phone to get lick with machete, with big stick, with broom, with boot. That's child abuse. Now, I'm not going to go into child abuse per se, not today. What I'm going into is emotions. The repressing of emotions. All right? Then you're bombarded with, if you even do talk out, don't complain. Be grateful. Let me tell you something. And I'm sure you've heard of all of this during the pandemic. Try telling a child that he or she should be grateful for the roof over their head when their parent or step-parent is abusing them, is beating them. So couple words. This grateful thing, emotions, and complaining. The three go together. Right? And the sadness of this is the people who jump to say that you're complaining are the very people who were not allowed to express their emotions. They were also told, you're complaining, be grateful. You know, I grew up in Jamaica, and I've gone through certain things. And I've also had friends who have gone through, and they all talk, and it's the same conversation. All right, they got to be an adult, and they have now started to open up. Maybe in the little circle that we have, they started opening up about being afraid of mentioning that they're ill because they don't want to complain. Other people have it worse. There's so many illnesses that can translate into something worse. All right? So just because you don't have cancer, don't mean you don't have a health issue. I remember being told when I was ill, oh, it's all in your mind. That's another smaller version of stop complaining. It's all in your mind. So when I grew up, I did not speak because I thought it was all in my mind and I shouldn't say anything because I'm complaining. Other people have it worse. You know what ended up happening to me? I'm walking on the streets and I'm dizzy. And I'm seeing stars in front of my eyes. Almost fainting on the road. Only to go to the doctor and I had a serious head situation. I had bad acute migraines. And it was getting really, really bad. Why? Because of stress, repressed emotions, feeling that I'm complaining, it's all in my mind, other people have it worse, I should be grateful, all of these words. And it resulted in a serious health situation. So I'm saying this to tell you, stay away from people who tell you that you're complaining. It's rude, it's disrespectful, and it's rubbish. Okay? How many of you remember Golden Girls? I remember when Dorothy on Golden Girls had a situation. She was tired, she was drained, couldn't function. And every doctor that she went to told her that she's old. And it's part of old age. And she should stop complaining because she has a full life. She ended up getting a referral to a specialist in New York. And when she went to the specialist, it was a serious health problem. And even her mother, not her mother, it wasn't her mother, was actually Sophia, was good. But the moral of the story, the lesson of the story is, don't let people tell you that you're complaining. You have to feel, matter of fact, feel pity for those individuals, because those are individuals who were never allowed to speak out about what's happening to them. And I can bet you they have a ton of health issues that they have not focused on healing. Because everything is, don't complain, don't get angry. And let me tell you something. Another serious part of that don't complain thing, it's you're going to get smacked if you open your mouth. So a lot of children internalize by saying if they keep their mouth shut, they won't get hit. And a lot of you have grown up with that same mentality. You don't complain, you don't rock the boat, you just go on to get along. How many of you are going along to get along? Not saying anything because you don't want to rock the boat. Not saying anything because you don't want to get smacked. This time it's not by your mother or father or step parent. This time it's maybe by your husband or your partner. You don't want to get smacked in your mouth. You don't want to get smacked, punched in your stomach or in your breast. You don't want to get smacked in your head. Right? All because somebody told you that if you open your mouth and say anything, you're complaining. And if you complain, you're ungrateful. If you're ungrateful, you should be spanked to be taught how to be grateful. How many things growing up were solved or, were thought to be solved by the belt, by the boot, or by the big stick, or by the machete? You see how all those four things, those four words go together? Emotions, complaining, ungrateful. What was the fourth one again? I don't remember. All right. But yes, all of those things go together. A lot of women, their husbands tell them that they complain too much. Their husbands treat them like a little child. And sadly, whatever was told to the husband is now what he turns around and puts on his children, on his wife, or his partner. A lot of women keep quiet because she doesn't want to complain. She has it good. How many women don't want to speak about what's going on in their household? Why? Because she has it, quote unquote, good. She has a nice house, nice BMW, nice name brand clothes. Children goes to private schools. She's in with the elite women. And she loves that life. But if she opens her mouth and complain, she's going to lose it all. They're going to make fun of her. They're going to shun her. I don't know how many of you watch Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I don't. I'm kidding. That was the only housewife show I actually allowed myself to watch. The others, all of them I thought was just cheap thrills. But Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I watched it. Why? Because I love LA. I love Beverly Hills. Growing up, I love Hollywood, so I loved it. There's a woman in it now. She's extremely wealthy, Erica Jane. And her husband is a lawyer. And she had all the friends. And every time she flew to anywhere, she had her glam squad and all this luxury life. And she had the friends to go with it. Now that her husband is being investigated and it's a whole drama, the friends that were close with her now start to distance themselves from her. Now, whether she's guilty or not, that's beside the point. But you see why a lot of women don't come out and talk about the abuse that they're getting at home. Or not, they may not even be getting abused. They may just be unhappy. Money don't make you happy. All right, Gucci, Chanel, Hermes, Birkin, those things don't make you happy. Getting the latest Birkin bag don't make you happy. All right? But they don't want to complain, because if they say something, that means they're complaining. And what happens? They repress their emotions, which is exactly what you do when you so-called don't complain. You repress your emotions and don't talk about it. And then what happens? That woman drops into catatonic depression. All right? Depression is not a nice thing. So I want you all listening, and a lot of you women and men sit in pain. You sit and repress emotion because nobody tell you so you're complaining, or you yourself telling yourself that you're complaining. If something is bothering you, it bothers you. All right? And I've always said and recommended, please go to therapy. A therapist will not tell you that you're complaining. A therapist will not tell you that you don't know how to handle your emotions. That is a harsh Hitler kind of mentality and attitude. Only coming from harsh people, who were harsh, repressed individuals who were told the same things. Remove yourselves from those individuals. All right? There is no such thing as tough love. None. Nothing named tough love. It's either you're tough or you're being loving. Love is not tough. Love is caring. Love is kind. Love is compassionate. Love is empathetic. And love is understanding. All right? Somebody being tough on you, they're just being tough on you. Nothing to do with love. They may love you, but being tough on you is not loving. That may be just how they know how to deal with situations, which sometimes makes it worse. All right? So I want you all, when you listen to this and moving on and going on, seek to speak to people who can give you loving and understanding advice. Loving support. Okay? And this is not a matter if you're wrong or right. We're not talking about wrong or right. And that's another thing too. Stop labeling your emotions as wrong or right. Your emotions are valid and they're yours. And if they're yours, they're always right. And when I say right, once again, this is not a matter of, in the layman terms, you're right or you're wrong. No, your emotions are never wrong. When you feel something within you, that's the honest truth. That's the emotions that you're feeling. If you're feeling sad is not wrong. It's not right. It's just an emotion. Stop labeling your emotions as wrong and right. Just see them as an emotion that you are feeling. And when you can understand why you're feeling that emotion, it goes a long way to understanding yourself. But I also want you to not just to seek out people who are loving and caring, but I also want you to start being loving and caring to yourself. Stop putting yourself down. Stop saying that you're complaining. You're not complaining. That's a child, and even children don't complain. We were programmed to think children are complaining when all children are doing are expressing themselves. And this goes exactly back to what I just said. When we start to tell children that they're complaining, you're starting the process of creating repressed, angry boys and girls. Right? Because the other twisted thing in society is, while to some extent it's okay for a woman to cry, but she's still seen as over emotional, right? Men are not allowed to cry. So we still live in a society that you repress emotions because you're complaining. Stop complaining. Be grateful for what you have. Children in Africa don't have this. Eat up your food. Oh my goodness. Did I strike a chord when I said that one? I could not stand sardine and mayonnaise growing up. And I got plenty beaten because I didn't want to eat the sardine and the mayonnaise. Right? And all I kept hearing is children in Africa don't have this food. And you know what I used to say? Send it, give them then. Since children in Africa don't have the food, and me, every time me don't want it, pack it up in a box and send it, give them. Of course, that made me get more beaten, because me too feisty and fresh, right? But it's the truth. I hate when I hear parents telling children, oh, children in Africa don't have food. That don't make the price of tea go down or go up. If the child don't like the food, stop forcing the child to eat the food. Okay? But these are some of the things that goes into forcing a child to accept certain things or to do certain things because the parent don't want to hear it. And so at some point, we have to break that cycle. We have to start teaching our children that it's okay for them to show emotions. It's okay for them to have emotions. Okay? And then we help and guide them through their responses. That's how you start to develop emotionally mature and emotionally healthy adults. It starts from childhood. All right? Stop beat your pitney them for everything. You know what's going to happen? They're going to learn to repress their emotions, and when the important things happen, they're not going to tell you. I know a lot of children got molested as kids, but because them get beaten so violently for every little foolishness, they don't tell their parents because they're going to get beaten again. And matter of fact, be told it's their fault because of them come on from big man. I never hear something so foolish. Right? And these women and boys grow up to have myriads of emotional problems. But I want to go on to something not lighter, but I want to go on to something less dark. So you have a boyfriend or you have a husband or you have a girlfriend, and him do you wrong or she do you wrong. You have every right to have emotions. And you're not stupid. All right? You know when somebody is using you or was using you. You know when somebody was in it only because you have money or because you're getting famous, whether you're on a radio show or you're on TV or whatever it is you're doing. You're rising up in your job, getting promotions, and them say that you have a lot of money. So them say, oh, okay. But as soon as something happen, them switch and go on to somebody else. Whatever situation it is, there's always relationship issues. You are allowed to have emotions. Don't bottle up your emotions. Having your emotions and expressing it and feeling it and acknowledging it is how you get to heal. It's how you get to heal from that situation. Right? It's not... Once again, if somebody tells you, oh, you do not know how to handle your emotion, just because you're crying because of a bad situation, feel sorry for that person, because this is a person who can't express emotion, who can't feel anything. You know, and I want to go back on something else too. There's a lot of children who have learned what to say and what not to say because they do not want to get kicked out of the house. Right? And go back to, you have certain, like, for example, there's a lot of families who take in children from poorer families. And so a lot of those children tend to at times go with the flow, go with the program, because they do not want to be sent back to where they're coming from. Maybe where they're coming from is horrid, but they're in a better situation in terms of, not better in terms of, they could still be being abused, but the difference is they now have a family. They're going to school. They're part of something, and they don't want to give that up. I'm sure lots of you whose parents took in an extra child have experienced where that child will run and report on you when you did something wrong because the child wanted to curry favor with your parents. It happens with normal siblings, but I'm not talking normal siblings. I'm talking your parents taking a person, from a poorer family, and that person, every time you did something, they will run and report you to your parents because they wanted the parents to favor them over you, who is the biological and legal child. So you have children who do that. They will even accept being molested because they know the other part of it is that they'll be put out. If they don't accept it, they'll be put out. Especially for those children whose parents were abroad and had a parent who was also abusive. So double whammy. The child couldn't tell the parent because the child would have been abused by that parent. And the child couldn't tell anybody because they would have to be put out of that place and mash up them parents' situation abroad. The amount of children who have to swallow being molested in some horrid ways. Because if they didn't, they would be messing up their parents' financial foreign situation. And the child was also told that too. If you talk, your parents are going to lose money and it's your fault. I could go into so many scenarios. However, tears come in my eyes sometimes when I remember some of those scenarios with friends and children, and it's just awful. But that's where a lot of you learn to repress your emotions. Either from not being put out of the house, to don't want to get beaten, to whatever you're going through, it's often minimized. Oh, it's not that bad. Or that's what little girls have to do to please their fathers or stepfathers or uncles or grandfathers, whosoever it is who's molesting you. Or the preacher, the elder, the pastor, the bishop, whosoever is molesting you. That's what little girls do to help men of God. Whatever excuse is used. And so a lot of emotions are repressed. But like I come back, even regular relationships, your emotions are repressed because, oh, enough women I get beaten, but because you not get beaten, your situation is not that bad. No. If you're unhappy, you're unhappy. So with that, I wanted those words, emotions, ungrateful, complaining. I think it was 3 words, not 4. Those 3 goes together. All right, because you're going to hear at least one of them when you're talking to somebody who does not have the tools to help you in your situation. And I can tell you how to spot a conversation that's helping you or not helping you if it is not making you feel better about yourself. And I'll go back to the layman terms of right or wrong. Even if, like I said, your emotions are never wrong. But if your behavior to somebody can be wrong, all right? However, if somebody's talking to you, it should be helping you to see how to improve yourself. And you should come away from that conversation feeling energized, feeling better about yourself, and feeling supported. Not supported in your wrongs, but feeling supported as a person so you can better your wrongs, better your life. All right? But I'll also say this. You can also know, if you're a mature person, you can also know if you are wrong. And if you are not wrong, do not let anybody tell you that you were wrong. Especially when it comes to somebody treating you badly. It is not your fault somebody treated you badly. You understand? That person needs to take responsibility for what he or she did. Don't take that on. Even if you could look and say, you know, I did something here too. That's fine. You can acknowledge what you did, but do not take responsibility for the other person's bad behavior towards you. Not at all. And that is so very important. Learn to separate yourself from somebody else. And I'm about to say something which I know gonna perk up the ears. Ladies, men too, but I'm talking to the ladies. When your partner cheats, that has nothing to do with you. Stop taking it personal. Seriously. Stop taking your partner's cheating personal. It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with him or her. Doesn't mean they don't love you. Doesn't mean you did something wrong. All right? Doesn't mean that something is wrong with you. And I think if more women, and I'm speaking to women now, I think if more women took on that attitude, it would be less pain. Stop taking your partner's sexual activities personal. I'm not talking the part about bringing home a disease. I'm not talking any of that. The act of sleeping with somebody else, that's his emotions. That's another thing too. Don't take on your partner's emotions. Your emotions are your emotions. All right. Same thing for the men. As I know a lot of men get brokenhearted, just like the women. But don't take that on. All right. So, all right. So today was, emotions and helping you to recognize that. Don't let anybody tell you that you're I cannot stand that word. Not just for adults, but you don't tell, not children either. It starts from childhood. When you start telling children that they're complaining, you're teaching them to shut up. You're teaching them to withhold and repress emotions and not say anything. And a lot of times that creates additional problems. Right? And I want you parents to be mindful of your children, whether they live with you or they live with the other parent. There's a situation in Jamaica going on right now where the child, I think the child is around 3 or 4, and the stepfather beat the picnic so badly, the child bruised up, and the mother is refusing to press charges. That is something I cannot understand. And you know what? Let me not say that. Let me go back. Maybe she's also being abused by the man. Maybe that's why she's afraid. If she press charges, he might go come back and beat her. So Jamaica needs to have stronger laws about domestic violence and child abuse. All right? And the father needs to file for sole custody. Because if the mother is refusing to press charges, maybe she's abused by the man too, the father needs to take his child out of that environment. And this is what I hope a lot of families will do. Take your children out of bad environments. Even if it's the one that you're living in too. You can't love a man more than you love the safety of your children. Honestly, I don't understand women. How can you love a man more than the safety and protection of your own children that you gave birth to? You ever see a mother bear protecting her cubs? Never ever you go near a bear. Well, unless it's a red stripe. or a Heineken, or what you call it? Corona. Um, but never go near a bear and her cubs. And I wish all women were like a mother bear to her children. Rip anybody to shreds who put them hand incorrectly upon our picnic them. I'm not advocating violence, not at all. But I'll understand it. If you're protecting your children, I'll definitely understand it. And that's one of the few areas that I'll be okay with it. Protecting yourself against a domestic batterer and protecting your children. Okay? All right, so I spoke a lot about. I hope out of it, somebody somewhere, if it's even one person. My thoughts on life is, if it's even one person you help, you have helped a lot. Because once that person gets the help and starts to take steps to now wake up and say, hold up, no, I deserve better, and start to heal, that person will now be able to, provide support for somebody else. And that other person will provide support for somebody else. And then so on and so forth. And it creates what you call a domino effect. All right. One person helps everybody. All right. So please, I know us as Jamaicans tend to have a harsh outlook on life, and a lot of our people love to tell others, "Oh, you're complaining," and basically what you're doing is you're perpetuating the cycle of abuse, of depression, of repression. And we want to come out of that. It's bad enough colonialism riddled the island, our Caribbean islands. All right, but we need to come out of the other form of oppression, emotional oppression, and get the help you need. It's okay to go to therapy. It's okay to speak out about whatever you're going through. Don't bottle it up. Don't just bottle it up and deal. No, that's not what life is about. It's about being happy. It's about living life passionately, freely, exuberantly, enjoying yourself. And a lot of you are not enjoying yourself. You just think, oh, this is my lot in life. I shouldn't complain. Just put my head to the grind and da-da-da-da. And you're missing out on a lot. I speak a lot of times about traveling. Maybe not during the pandemic, but traveling, exploring different countries. Time and time you hear me play Indian music or Brazilian music. And, Jamaica is not the only country in the world. Please expand your travel resume. If you can't find the money for go to Jamaica, you can't find the money for go to India or Dubai or China. Well, maybe not China right now. But to Paris. Men, honestly, take your wife to Paris. I think every female at some point in her life should travel to Paris if she have her papers. All right, so which brings us to another topic of the immigration topic. But no, ladies, even if your husband not carrying you to Paris, take yourself on a trip to Paris. Whether it's a girl's trip, I'm going to say I hate saying girl's trip. Whether it's a ladies' trip or a single trip, you go by yourself. All right, and yes, you can travel by yourself. If you can get up and go work by yourself, you can get up and go Paris by yourself. It's no different from taking the bus or the train to Manhattan. The only difference is you're taking a plane to Paris. Go experience the city of lights. It's romantic. It's beautiful. At least once in your life, go to Paris. All right? That's if you have your papers, you have your green card, and you're a citizen, and you can travel, which brings us back into our immigration topic. And I hope those words of encouragement, upliftment, reach somebody's heart and mind. Okay, and give you some needed comfort, especially if you don't have nobody to talk to. and you're hearing this now on the radio and it speaks to what you're going through and you're afraid to talk to nobody or you're ashamed to talk to nobody, this reached out to your heart and kind of give you whatever you needed. You know, everything always happens at the right time. So I'm hoping this was the right time and you heard it and it helped you. So if it did, it comes from my heart. I'm glad that I spoke about it because it helped you, whosoever you are, whether you're a man or a woman. I'm hoping it helped you, or you can bring it to somebody else to help them. In this life, one hand wash the other. No one is an island. No one should stand alone. All right. So let's go to the topic of green cards and divorces. What do the two things have in common? Now, you may be married, and whether you got married for the papers, that's none of my business, and I'm not telling you, I'm not giving advice on that, but I'm just talking organically. If you are married to someone and you want to get divorced, that's on you. You're free to get divorced if you feel that you need to be divorced. All right? I've had people ask me, Miss Trudy, how soon can I file the papers if I get married? The minute the ink is dry on your marriage certificate, you can put in the paperwork for the green card petition. All right? Now, as I've said in radio programs, my office handles paperwork. We don't give you advice on whether you should get divorced and who you must go marry next and who can help you with the papers better. We do not give, my office do not give such advice. I'm going to say it and I'm going to stress it. We are not lawyers, but we do work with lawyers. All right? We're an immigration services provider. And we help you to gather your paperwork, fill out the forms, and submit it to immigration. It is on you and your spouse to prove to immigration officer that you have a bona fide, valid marriage. All right? Now, of course, when you go to the immigration interview, you need to be honest. That's the most advice we'll give you. You need to be honest. All right? If you have certain situations that may create a problem, then you would need to reach out. We will refer you to the lawyer that works, that we liaison with. All right? So we will not tell you that you must get divorced from this one, because if you get married to that one will help you with your papers better. You will, no. We will never, ever tell you that. What we will tell you is if you do get divorced and you remarry, okay, then this person can sponsor you for the green card and adjustment of status. All right. So if you want to get divorced, that's on you. If you want to remarry, that's also on you. We only handle the paperwork when you come to us and needing to file for and be sponsored and put in the sponsorship, or as we call it, filing for your husband or your wife. All right. Now, one of the important documents that you need to have is the I-94. Not the I-95, that's a highway, the I-94. The I-94 is the document that you get when you come through customs. All right? That is a very important piece of document because you're going to need to submit it with your adjustment of status, especially when you have overstayed the 6 months on the I-94. You're going to need to provide that with the adjustment of status, the I-485 form. If you do not have the I-94, and it cannot be pulled up from the I-94 website, it costs around $440 to apply for that little piece of paper. Yep, $440. So make sure You can find your I-94 if you're going to file for adjustment of status. If you have if you came upon the old passport from the 80s, and if it is not stamped in your passport, you're not, and you can't find it, you're not going to be able to put it up on the website. But if you have the smaller passport, the CARICOM passport, and you came up on that passport, we will be able to pull up your I-94 on the internet. If you have the old passport, unfortunately, you're going to have to pay to apply for the I-94 document. Okay, so that's that. But just know that when you're filing a petition based on marriage to immigration, every marriage is fraudulent. Doesn't mean it is. Just to immigration, they already have that, because a lot of people get married fraudulently to get the papers. Right? I don't want to frighten nobody, but not frighten nobody. I just want people to also be very careful too with the non-bona fide marriages. All right? I know some people have to do what they have to do, forget what they have to forget, but I'll always say the marriages need to be legal, and that's what we'll talk about, legal bona fide marriages. Unfortunately, a few months ago, and it so happened to be our own Jamaican, got arrested because she was doing arranged marriages, for helping people get them green card. She would put undocumented people with citizens and let them get married, and then put in the paperwork, and she was busted. And I'm sure it was by somebody close to her too. All right, so I just want to put it out there. Be very careful when you're going to people that say them can arrange marriage for you with a citizen and whatever. Be very, very careful. All right. No, people have to do what they have to do, but I'm telling you, be very careful. So putting that aside, immigration looks at every marriage application as already fraudulent, because people do commit fraud with these situations. It's up to you to prove to immigration that your marriage is a bona fide marriage. Okay? And you and your spouse need to be on the same page. Because even a bona fide marriage can have hiccups. And I'll tell you how. I had a client this week. I called him. When did you get married? Boy, Miss Trudy, me I tell you something, I know him if I call the wife on that. If this was an individual going in front of a immigration officer, I would have to tell them, you have to know these things. You understand? You cannot go to immigration and one of you only know information, the other one know the same information. No go so. And this is not even legal advice, it's just common sense. If you get married and going to immigration and you're married and you're filing for papers through marriage, these are common sense things. All right? Know each other like a book, front and back, inside and out. When you bend the book outside and in, we're not supposed to know each other like that. All right? If you don't have children together, we don't need to know the children's birthdays, both of you. What does she like? You, the husband, need to know. What does he like? You, the wife, need to know. What's his favorite dish? What's her favorite dish? What color the curtain is in the bathroom? What color do you have an AC? What size bed you sleep on? What time does she get up to go to work? What time does he love to go to bed? All right? These are things that are important. These are common sense things. Okay, so with that, if you need to contact my office, the number is 929-312-1161. This number should have been on the fridge, and I need the strawberry magnet or the banana magnet long time. 929-312-1161. And the hours of operation is Monday to Friday, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. And on Saturdays, 1 to 2:30 and 5 to 7 p.m. All right, so please, may I beg you, get on affairs in order, get on the same page. Okay, I mean, if proving a bona fide marriage is if that but if you have to prove a bona fide marriage, can you imagine how much you have to prove on a marriage that's not even bona fide? Or have to look the part. See, you understand? So whichever marriage, as long as you're married, make sure the marriage bona fide. I'm gonna only speak about bona fide real marriages. When the two love each other, settling together, have family, or building a family, and make sure you have joint documents. You have to commingle your work. All right. One of the paperwork that you're going to need is life insurance. We have a life insurance, Mark Parkinson, a fellow Jamaican. His number is 917-957-8517. 917-957-8517. And before I sign off, I want to remind parents and men, parents of boys and grown men, parents, once you're living here in the United States, once your son gets to be 18 years of age, he needs to you need to have him register for the Selective Service. It is a must. Between 18 and 26, he should register for the Selective Service. For those of you men who are over 18 and you're out on your own, but you're not yet 26, this is important, not just for the Selective Service, but it's important when you're doing your citizenship application. It does ask you if you're a male between the ages of 18 and 26. If you have been living in this country, if you answer yes, it will ask you, did you register for the Selective Service? If you are over 26 and you did not register for the Selective Service, you're doing your citizenship application, you're going to need to call Selective Service and let them know and get the necessary paperwork to submit with your application. So with that, we come to the end of the program and hope you got some motivation out of it. Thank you and have a wonderful Saturday.
To Positive Radio 106.9 on the FM band. Mount Vernon, Yonkers, New Rochelle, the Bronx. Positive Radio is not a religious radio. We deal with positive around here, no negative. Keep it locked.
On the wings of a snow white dove, he sends his pure sweet